Pocus was released in 1993 and was directed by Kenny Ortega. And in this movie, a group of kids accidentally resurrect the evil Sanderson sisters, and they must find a way to stop them before all the children are taken. Guys, it's Halloween season! Oh my god, this is my favorite time of the year. I love the costumes, I love the scares, I love the decorations, I love it all. It's so great, and of course, watching scary movies. So, why I'm reviewing this movie? Because first of all, this is a classic. And second of all, we're getting a sequel. I never ever thought we would ever get a Hocus Pocus 2, but we are. In 6 days on Disney Plus, we are getting a sequel to this movie. I have my reservations. I don't really have a lot of expectations. And if the movie sucks, then I'll just come back to watching this one every single year. But if it's great, awesome, I'll move on with my life. But whatever. We'll talk about that when it comes out. But for now, let's talk about this one. Let's talk about the original Hocus Pocus. Starting off with the positives, and of course, the chemistry of this cast is impeccable. It's just mwah, chef's kiss. And of course, you have to talk about the Sanderson sisters. They are truly iconic. Like, when you think of Halloween, I definitely got to put them in my top 5 or 10 of best Halloween characters ever. They really are that. I mean, I just hold them near and dear to my heart. I believe this is the first Halloween movie I ever watched. It was either that or Nightmare Before Christmas. One of those two was my first Halloween movie ever. But they hold a special place in my heart. Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy all are fantastic. They really mean a lot to me. And they're also really funny in this movie. These characters are just bigger than life itself. They're so awesome. They're so funny. They can be scary. They are just perfect characters. It's always the small things in movies that make me like the film. Like, take for instance, anytime, look at Bette Midler in this movie. Anytime her sisters are talking, you just see the irritation on her face. It always brings that real, like, chuckle out of me. I just can't help but love that so much. The interactions, it's like they are siblings, like they are sisters. They just hate each other, but at the same time, they will do anything for each other. So I actually kind of appreciate that. And it makes you love these characters just as much, if not more, than your protagonists. One thing you really got to give props to this movie for is mixing those elements of horror and comedy. Now, I don't really find this movie necessarily scary even when I was a kid. Like, there are some great horror elements like Billy's makeup. You gotta love the look of the Sanderson sisters, you know, the eeriness of the characters and the tone and atmosphere the movie has. But you know, now that I think about it, some of the elements of this movie is really dark and really adult when you look at. I mean, take for instance, the Sanderson sisters are hanged in the beginning of the movie, and then they put a spell on an entire group of adults at a party saying, "Dance until you die," and then literally 5 minutes later, the Sanderson sisters are burned alive in an oven. Can you imagine if this movie was rated R? Oh my god, that'd be terrifying. But talking about the balance of horror and comedy, it's crazy that 1 second these are really eerie, evil witches who are trying to suck the souls out of all the kids that they can see, and then literally a second later they're doing a whole dance sequence and singing and laughing, and they're really goofy characters that don't understand the real world. They think a road is a black river. They think like the sprinklers are the burning rain of death. Like, it's just small things like that that add to the charm of this movie, and it makes you want to revisit it every single year. Having younger actors in a movie can be a tall task because, you know, it's either goes one of two ways. You either have a really good child actor performance or you don't really have that good of a child actor performance. And all of the child actors in this movie were really good. I think Thora Birch was the standout of this film as Danny. She was absolutely adorable. She was really good. I was surprised by how great she was in this movie, because this is actually the first time I've actually watched Hocus Pocus in years, and I just rewatched it because I realized the sequel was coming out in like 6 days, so I was like, let me rewatch it. And man, Thora Birch as Danny, what a performance. That she probably has, next to Bette Midler, probably the second best performance in this movie, which is really cool to say. Another big positive is the look of this movie. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm very blessed in the time that I'm living in right now. I love these new school movies, but there's just something about old school movies that they just do it right, especially old school Halloween movies. You look at movies today, they all look so slick and shiny and new, but there's just something about the way films were made back in the day that just made you appreciate it more. Take, for instance, most of this movie is practical. That's actually really interesting to look at because all the flying scenes, they're all on wires. The cats, they used either real cats or animatronic, which I find that super cool. You know, if this movie was made today, most likely that cat would be CGI. Now, they did use some CGI, obviously, when Binks is talking, they have to do that. But the fact that they went out of their way to either use real cats or animatronic cats is really impressive to me. And I also found out that the moths in Billy's mouth were real, What? That's crazy to me that I read an article saying that they literally like put like a special casing in his mouth so like nothing like bad would happen to him, like no infections, no nothing. And they got a moth guy, which I didn't even know that existed. They have a moth guy. So they got a moth guy and he individually put the moths in his mouth so that way when they went out they flew away. And the fact that they were real, that is crazy to me. That's easily one of my favorite things about this movie. Just watching that one scene and just seeing the moths just fly out of his mouth. Great job, Hocus Pocus crew. That's really impressive. I don't really have any negatives for this movie. Even sometimes there was bad acting in some scenes. It just adds to the charm, in my opinion. It makes the movie more enjoyable. The only negative I'm going to give something is Rotten Tomatoes, because I looked at the reviews for this movie when it came out, and it got a 39% on Rotten Tomatoes. That is stupid. How can you watch this movie and give it a bad review? It is literally everything you need out of a horror comedy Halloween film for kids. It's perfect. It's great for adults. It's great for kids. There's a reason why it still has stood the test of time and people still rewatch it, and why we're getting a sequel. Because it's a good movie, you numbnuts. Now for this movie, as a grade, I'm giving it an A+. If you disagree with me, I don't want to talk to you because I love this movie. It accomplished what it was set out to do. I'm not going to be one of those critics that's like, oh, the scene in this, oh, the continuity, oh, it wasn't great enough, it wasn't exquisite enough, it didn't match how I was feeling today. No, I'm not doing that. No, this movie is great. I love this movie, which is why I have reservations about Hocus Pocus 2. I haven't looked at any of the teasers or any of the trailers because I want to go in blind, but like I said, if Hocus Pocus 2 sucks, then I'll just move on with my life and continue to watch the original Hocus Pocus. But I do hope Hocus Pocus 2 is good. Please be good. Please be good. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.